Good afternoon and welcome, everyone. Thank you for taking the time to participate in today's live webinar. We'll be spending the next hour or so with our special guest, Chris Bint, who's the Chief Learning Officer from TechCoaches, and we'll explore some common technology-based scams and how to remain safe on the internet. TechCoaches aims to enrich the lives of adults with technology through literacy training and services that educate, inform, and enable. Before we get started, you'll notice that we've muted your microphones in an effort to eliminate background noise and distractions. We have protected time for a question and answer period at the end of today's webinar, at which time we'll invite you to type your questions or comments into the question box, or I can unmute you so you can ask your question aloud. A reminder that the session today is being recorded for educational purposes. And today's content has also been summarized for you in the format of a reference sheet. This will be sent to all participants along with a copy of our recording. So without further delay, I'd like to give a warm welcome to Chris. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Melissa. It's my pleasure to be here with you today. Folks, thanks very much for joining us this afternoon on this glorious sunny day. We want to talk about some technology, but we also want to talk about keeping ourselves safe and secure in a high-tech world. And that's what this conversation today is supposed to be about. We're going to highlight some telephone scams, but we're also going to talk about internet tricks that are common that people will encounter on their computers, their smartphones, their tablets, anything that essentially is a touch screen or has a keyboard attached to it. Yeah, lots of scam opportunities present themselves in that way. So let's jump into things. Well, first by me saying thanks again. We really appreciate the fact that you've taken the time today to join us and you've brought your willingness to learn and you're doing your best to boost your own digital literacy. And we're really happy to be in a position where we get to share useful, valuable information with you about technology. So thanks so much for joining us today. I wanted to let you know a little bit about our organization. What we specialize in is helping older adults learn about technology. There's a number of different virtual programs that we run in the community. But if you're interested and you're so inclined and you feel like looking us up online later, feel free to go to techcoaches.ca, click on the blog section at the top of our website there. And every month we're putting out something that we thought you would find interesting and valuable. It shouldn't be something that you've read before. We're always trying to put out material that is novel, that's going to add some utility, add some benefit to your life. So do check that out if that's the kind of thing that you're interested in. All of that said, let's get into talking about technology so that we can start to explore telephone scams and internet trickery. As tech coaches, we go around talking about how we can best prepare ourselves as digital citizens to navigate the quickly digitizing virtual world that we have. And one thing that we've prepared is this lens, and we call it a philosophy, a technology philosophy. And we find that if you apply this lens to the way that you look at technology, it can help you feel more comfortable and confident with it because it sort of sets the foundation so that you have steady footing as you explore the vast options that technology creates for us every day. So let's talk a little bit about that technology philosophy right now. The first thing that I often take time to highlight is the fact that digital literacy is an essential intelligence. And it's similar to not being able to read and write, for example. If you don't know how to get onto a device and look up information that you're interested in, or you're not able to sign into a computer and jump on a video call or write an email and communicate with people in these average, common, basic ways that we think about using technology to interact with one another, then my argument would probably be that you're at a disadvantage because those kinds of things in my world, right? I'm living in a world where there's high-speed internet available regularly all over the place. People have access to devices, whether they have personal devices or whether they're borrowing a device for a temporary time so that they can do things. If you don't know how to use it, That's really a disadvantage for that particular user group. One thing that I've seen, and I'm quite certain that those of you on the call today have witnessed the same thing, is that as the future unfolds before me, there's more technology in it. And what do I think about in the future from now? There's going to be even more technology, and the future's rich with more technology, and we should be prepared for that in a couple of different ways. Let me just highlight an example of future technology. Maybe you've heard of the company Facebook, and they've changed their name now to Meta because they want to talk about the idea of a metaverse, and they want to talk to us, maybe not now because it's not normal, average, basic for us to all be sitting here with a headset on, but they're getting us ready for the idea that we're going to be able to put a headset on and then participate in virtual reality spaces. And we're going to be able to socialize and connect and communicate and work with the people around the world in a very different way that's more high tech than it is today. So that's just one little element of the future of technology that I'm paying attention to. So I'll leave that there for you to think about on your own time. Next thing that I wanted to highlight about technology, if it wasn't clear already, is that change is part of it. There's no way that the phone that we're using today is going to be the same device that we're using in 10 years from now. And the reason why I say that, I'll go back 20 years for this example, but this is my phone from 20 years ago. Yeah, one of those flip phones. We didn't do our email on these. We did some very basic rudimentary text messaging. The cameras were very low quality. And now I've upgraded that less than 20 years later with a smartphone that does a million things. I can't even start to tell you all of the things that it does. The list is just far too big. And what I think I know about what's coming is that we're going to see the same kind of change as we go forward. Technology is going to continue to make us learn new things. That's just part of it. And as I continue to experience new technologies, my openness to that change is going to be important. So I just put that on the table for your consideration. It's not necessarily right, but it is an idea that you can think about. Being open to change will make you more comfortable with technology because you're ready for the little bit of learning that's going to be involved with technology forever. Really, I've always needed to learn a little bit about technology all through my adult life so that I could continue to get benefits from the new technology devices that are available. So pushing on from there, let's look at an example of change. We're talking about digital wallets a lot now. We're talking about scanning QR codes. We're also transferring money and making payment with our phones. These are, in a nutshell, comparable to our wallets and our purses. And I just like to point at that because it's safe, it's average, common, basic, but I have to learn how to do it the appropriate way so that I feel good about it and I understand how everybody else is doing the same thing, right? So we can talk about that maybe at another time or in the Q&A section, this idea of digital wallets, if you had any questions about that. But it is indeed something that I see quickly coming into the marketplace or into the world that I'm in every day, right? Not just the marketplace, just me talking to my other friends, and we've got digital wallets. One other idea that I stick with when I'm talking about the basics of technology is that it fails on a regular basis. And that's tricky because it requires me as the user of it to know a little bit about how I can solve a problem when I'm by myself. And maybe you've had similar experiences to the ones that I've had, but sometimes it just takes turning it off and turning it back on, or restarting the program, or maybe you tried to join a Zoom call and it didn't work. So you just went back to the email and you clicked the link again, and now you got your Zoom call going and nothing really was a problem. Sometimes there's a hiccup in technology. That's not a big deal. We just have to overcome it and try again. That's really the solution to all technology problems, is don't stop trying, because the moment you stop trying, you've given up on trying to overcome. So if technology is just hiccuping, maybe you could restart it and it's going to be back up and running before you know it. Or you might need to know a little bit about going on to a Google search or a Microsoft Bing search, or maybe DuckDuckGo, and finding a couple pointers to get you out of a technology pickle. Yeah, a pickle. I don't like getting into a pickle. I don't think you do either. So we should have the ability to look stuff up on the internet and try and figure out how to get our technology working again. There's one thing that I know, and that's I'm going to need to be patient with my technology. I'm going to have to give myself some time to learn. I'm also going to need to read. I'm going to go on Google searches. I'm going to go on different articles that I found on Microsoft Bing on different things that I want to do. And I can't skip reading. And sometimes it's going too fast and not being patient and not paying attention that can cause us, because I've done it myself, to miss something, and then we get tricked or we get fooled because we didn't notice something. So if we slow ourselves down as the technology users, pay very close attention to what we're doing, and don't skip reading, we can employ those practices and have a better end result with our technology experience, because less surprises, less tricks, less scams will get me, because I caught them before it happened. And I'm going to try and help you today identify those scams and tricks so that you can catch them too in the future as you encounter them. Something that I've had to talk to a lot of people about over the years, it's their practices with passwords, because not everybody takes their passwords seriously. And I just like to remind everybody, when I'm talking about telephone scams and internet trickery, we need passwords because it's our security for our different online accounts. And if I don't take my security seriously, then that kind of means that I don't take my safety seriously, right? Because I didn't care to set myself up securely with good passwords. So that kind of means that I don't care if something happens to me as a result of not having enough security. So what I'm trying to recommend with all passwords that you encounter is try and do more than the minimum. Do more than the minimum. So if a website asks you for 8 characters minimum for a password, my recommendation would be at least 10, maybe even 12 characters would be a much stronger password. And perhaps if you wanted to up the ante on your password game even a little bit more, you'd start thinking about passphrases instead of passwords, because a sentence or a phrase is that much longer than a word, and that would be a much stronger password in the long run. I'm also going to be using capital letters, lowercase letters, numbers, and symbols. I've given you an example here on the screen just for your own reference, but one final point about passwords is that you shouldn't recycle them. We're not supposed to use the same password on all of our different social media accounts and our email account and our online banking account and our Amazon Prime account. These are all supposed to have a different password associated to them. So I realize that's not everybody's favorite, but it is something that we have to practice ourselves so that we can increase the amount of security we have to keep our online accounts safe. So I will push on from there and just remind you that just because you saw it on the internet, or maybe you heard it on the internet, it doesn't make it true. There's a lot of room for people to add information to the internet. And there's nothing that stops people from lying. There's nothing really. So people can go on Facebook and tell a lie. They can go on Google and tell a lie, on a website if they care to. They can just about lie wherever they want on the internet. And because that's possible, what I have to do as the user of the internet is I have to be cautious, and I have to be paying close attention, and I have to be trying to figure out Does that sound too good to be true? Because it probably is. Or does it seem a little odd? Does that seem fishy? Does that seem like it shouldn't be so? Then you're probably right. And you should be going with your gut instinct by default. Don't experiment because it could result in a scam. I'll get into talking about that a little bit more.
I've got myself.
Now, what else we can talk about here is what could possibly happen. So I know maybe some of you are on Facebook, and maybe you're going to see in the marketplace on Facebook that people are offering to sell things. So here's just an example of an article that was put out earlier this year in January of 2022 by the Federal Trade Commission. And they wrote an article trying to help people not buy fake COVID-19 tests, because you could lie and say that you had tests and then they weren't real tests and people were just giving you something that was fake, or they weren't giving you something at all and they never shipped it to you. They just accepted your money and then you got scammed. And this is a website that's just trying to point out what could you do to ensure that you didn't get scammed. So I just thought that I'd highlight that because it's so commonplace for people to try and fool other people so that they can get money. That's really quite often what they always want, is they want access to other people's money. So how could they get your money in this scenario? They trick you into buying something that's a fake product, and now you feel bad and you thought that you needed this product and now you don't have the product, and it really creates anxiety and bad feelings associated to technology. And I wouldn't want you to have that happen. So just know that we have to have our guard up, if you will, and we have to be paying attention and trying to figure out if this seems too good to be true. We've got to try and get ahead of that as quick as we can. One thing that I like to leave everybody with, just to give you, reassurance. If you have a willingness to be here right now, then you could use technology, because all you need is a willingness to learn, and you could figure out how to use whatever technology device is in your life. And it's very similar to when young children just see what their parents are doing on their devices. They just, see some tapping and some swiping, and then they see them using the buttons on the side. And then shortly thereafter, they want to take that device from the hand of their parent and start to open the Netflix video by themselves, or they want to play the game by themselves with nobody really teaching them how to do it. They simply had this willingness. They were watching. They thought, I'm going to get value out of that. I like that game. I'm going to have fun watching that video, whatever the case might be, but they see value in it. And that means they're motivated to try. They're more willing, they're open to try. So thanks very much again for bringing your willingness today. Very happy to be with you working on this. So let's start to dive into some of the more particular ideas that we wanted to identify today around telephone scams and internet trickery. Now, I already sort of talked about this notion, but when I'm using my computer, when I'm using my smartphone, when I'm using any tablet, Samsung, iPad, it doesn't matter. It's all the same. It's all technology. I'm playing defense. I'm always just trying to be careful. Maybe you can think about it like when you're driving in a car on the freeway. You're playing defense. You're paying very close attention to what everyone else is doing around you, and you're very engaged in the experience, and you're looking carefully where you need to be so that you can steer the vehicle the best of your ability so that there's no accidents. That's the same thing that I do when I'm playing or using or working on my technology, is I have to be playing defense. I'm paying attention. Yeah. And I'm being very present with what I'm doing, and I'm not skipping reading. And I have to make these calls sometimes on my own. Yeah. Because I don't necessarily know if this is a scam. I have to decide, do I think this is a scam? I'm going to say yes, because I don't want to get scammed. So I'd rather say yes if I thought it even for a second, and ignore it and not push forward. So let's talk about some of those scams so that you can play defense too. Okay. When you're at home, nobody, even Microsoft, is able to call you and give you any sort of report on a problem, an issue, a virus, anything that you're having with your computer. And anybody that knows that already, when they receive these calls, they simply just hang up the phone because they're very prevalent. And I'm sure that many of you on this call have had some sort of a phone call scam come through where somebody was trying to tell you that they knew something about your technology. One word of advice that I have: don't worry about being nice. Just say, no thanks, hang up the phone. Don't wait for a conversation. There's no need for talking. You don't need to talk to these people at all that are telling you anything about, you have a problem with your computer and I want to help you fix it. No, no, no. You want to get off the phone as quick as you can because it's just a scam. Yeah. The more you talk, the more likely they might try and call you back, because perhaps they think, maybe if I keep talking to this person, I'm eventually going to get them. So they might give you preference and they'll call back again because you talked to them for 5 minutes. Then you talked to them for 8 minutes. Then you talked for 12 minutes. And now they think that they've got you convinced. So just hang up. It's the best way to deal with that. There's something called the grandma scam. And it's a bad one. In a nutshell, somebody calls you and they're saying, Nana, I need your help. I'm in trouble. I need money. I have a problem and I need to pay this fee and I don't have any money. And then Nana says, this doesn't sound like my grandson. And then the person, the scammer at the other end said, that's because I have a cold right now, Nana, but it is your grandson. Don't worry, just send me the money. And what I can tell you is what this says right here on our screen. Between January 2021 and September 2021, $1.5 million was scammed in this way in Canada alone. Varieties of this particular scam gets people all over the country. And it's because we didn't second guess it. We believed too much that the thing that seemed a little funny wasn't funny and it was in fact true. But really, if you start to question something, you've got to get yourself out of that scenario, because you don't want to get scammed for lots of money over the phone, thinking that you're helping somebody that's not actually asking you for any help at all. Okay. Pushing on from there, I just wanted to make it known by everybody that it's possible that you could see a caller ID pop up on your phone that's being faked. So for example, it could look like my brother's phoning me, but a scammer got into my brother's account, if you will, and they're spoofing his phone number and making it look like when he calls me that it's his name popping up on the screen. So we even need to be paying attention to that. And I realize that you've grown accustomed to trusting the caller display, but if it didn't sound like your brother when you picked up, or if it said it was the police department, it doesn't mean that it's the police department. It means that maybe somebody has spoofed the police department's phone number and now they're calling people trying to harass them with the threat that they are the police and they're going to come and get them and charge them with some sort of felony or what have you. So you can understand how this is something serious that we need to think about. So if somebody calls and it's said on your caller ID that it was the police department and you're on the phone with somebody, if you really believe it might be the police department, then you can Google the police department and call them back. Yeah, you're just going to hang up the phone. You don't need to transfer to somebody else in the department. No, you need to hang up the phone, call the police department with the number that you got off of Google or Bing or the Yellow Pages. I don't know where you got the local police number from, but you call them and let them know, hey, somebody just called from here and they said that it was you. Is that true? Did somebody actually call me? And sort it out that way, because you don't want to listen to a scammer trying to feed you a lie because you were tricked into believing that they were the police just because your caller ID suggested that they were. And I realize it's not my favorite. I like to look at the caller ID and feel like I know who's calling, but that doesn't necessarily always happen like that. So we should be aware of it. And now you know too, don't be fooled by pretend police or pretend CRA or anything of the sort. Okay. Now, we were going to do some polls. Melissa, I'm going to defer to you, my friend. Did you want to try and collect some data today, or should we push on?
I think we should just carry on. We've got lots to cover.
You got it. Yep, you got it. That's perfect. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
So let me tell you a little bit about what's going on my phone so that I can defend against the fake phone calls. Yeah, my phone is a Google Pixel, and what they have built in is this feature called Screen Call. So in a nutshell, what I get to do is if somebody calls, I can push the Screen Call button, and then a Google Assistant will answer on my behalf. And this assistant, it will talk to the person at the other end of the phone, and then they will speak into the microphone, and the Google Assistant will write a text message, that I can read and determine if I even want to talk to that person at the other side. More often than not, the scam call doesn't say anything to me and they just hang up the phone. So this is a great technology, let's say, defense that's coming into the market, and we're going to start to see this sort of thing popping up on phones all over the place. But I just wanted to make it known that we have defenses or technologies already developed that are helping us try and navigate this, because fake calls, they're happening all over the place. So we're all navigating them. We can't stop them from happening. Instead, we have to learn what to do to not have anything happen to us that's negative in any way. Yeah. So we have to be able to identify them, skip the calls, screen the calls, whatever the case might be. But now you know. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about text messaging. Text messaging are very close to smartphones, and with the smartphones being connected to the internet, what ends up happening is you'll get a text message not to you specifically, just to your phone number. They don't know your name. That's why in this example down here, it says to client. Yeah, because they don't really know who I am. And then it's just my phone number. So yep, okay, my phone number, that makes sense. And they're pretending to be Netflix. Now, something that you should really know, these kinds of texts, they happen all the time. I probably get a fake text message from a company once a month, whether it's a bank, whether it's one of these streaming video services like Netflix, maybe it could even be Amazon, but fake text messages, they are definitely something that I receive on a regular basis, and so will you if you're a smartphone user. So we should really understand how to identify them. So as you can see here, what does it want you to do? It wants you to click this link that says netflix.ca-ont.info. And if you know about technology and you know about Netflix and you have a little bit of digital literacy, and you've sat in on this telephone scams and internet trickery webinar, then you would know that that's not a real website. That's not the Netflix website. And in fact, what's happening is a scammer is trying to get you to go to a fake website so that you can voluntarily give them whatever information the website asks of you. So it might ask for name, address, phone number. It's going to get birthday, maybe. They're going to get you to put in a new credit card number because they're saying that they need to renew your membership. So how are you going to renew the membership? You got to give them credit card details to do so. And you volunteered to type it all in because you fell for the fake text message. So no company is ever going to send you a text message that's asking you to click on a link and now fill out this form and get your refund or renew your membership. They don't do it like that. But if you didn't know, then maybe it would catch you off guard. Now, depending on what kind of phone you have, some phones, they will block anticipated spam or fake text messages. So as you can see here, my Google phone, it did so. It put it in a spam folder because we have those, just like we have junk mail folder in our email because so much junk email shows up in my inbox all the time. So we needed special folders to sort it all out, right? Because we can't stop it from coming. So pretending that this didn't go into my spam folder, if I just wanted to show you how all of this would end up going, you can see here my phone continued to put up defenses and say, you know, this looks like a deceptive site and you shouldn't go here. But I pushed it forward and I made it show me, because what I wanted to show you was how realistic it looks if you finally get to where they wanted you to go. If you were finally able to get there, it kind of looks like Netflix. It's got the logo at the top. It's got this little bit of gray in the background that's kind of fancy, I guess you could say. And they got this big red button and you're just inclined to tap on it and then start filling out the boxes because you want to restart your Netflix membership, even though nothing's wrong with it. Netflix would not do this. How would I check if I wanted to know, is this fake or not? I would simply go to my computer, log into Netflix, and if they needed to say anything to me about needing to restart my membership, they do so right there. But I would not need to interact with the text message. It's never a real text message. I just wanted you to remember that it's not going to be legitimate if it came via text message. So just get used to ignoring those, but hopefully soon enough your phone's going to block it and you don't even have to do anything. Yeah. Now, phishing emails, they also happen regularly. These are fake messages trying to get you to do the same exact thing. They want you to click on a link so that you can volunteer to give a bunch of personal information away to the scammers. So as you can see here, this is what it looks like on a phone if I'm going to get an email, and it's coming from office info / secure account. It is not UPS. It's not UPS. I can see from the address that it came from that it has nothing to do with UPS. And then as I look down here, it's got this link and it says this big long website that it wants me to go to. And it's not the UPS website. It's some sort of kaleshkabar.com website. There's no way that UPS is outsourcing their services to that company. And I needed to recognize that when I saw this link in the email. If I just so happened to open the fake email and I did read it, I should see this and know, nah, this is a fake UPS email. But if you didn't know, because you didn't have digital literacy, you never heard of it before, you never talked to anybody about it, or you were a little bit gullible. You were a little bit gullible and you saw the subject and it was schedule a redelivery. And that's what you wanted to do. You didn't want to stop the package, even though you can't remember if you have a package being delivered or not, because it wouldn't require you to do so. You can see here another one. It looks kind of the same. It's a bunch of writing that's trying to tell you, hey, we had to stop a package and you're going to have to fill out something to get us to let the package come out to you. But you can see here, they gave us another funny looking link that says UPS / delivery data / UPSCA.dirtdogsports.com. You see how it starts to sound really funny at the end of that address. Dirtdogsports.com does not sound like UPS, but we have to be paying attention. We have to be reading. Can't skip reading, can't stop paying attention. I don't want to get scammed. So I'm just going to make sure that I know what I'm seeing here. And then my opinion is, I don't need this. So I click the garbage can down here and I throw it away. What do you do with phishing emails? You just throw them away. You don't have to do anything. Just throw it away and don't interact with it. And no problem ever happened. What I can say is, don't click any links. You definitely don't want to click any of the links, because then you might forget what we talked about today, about how now you're volunteering to just type in all of the information that they asked for. They didn't know any of it. You typed it all in. So don't get to that point. Please don't get to that point, my friends. Now, pushing on from there, let's talk about another really popular site that you might hear from, but it's a fake email. Again, it's fake phishing emails, but they're masquerading, they're pretending to be Amazon. And what are they trying to get you to do? They want you to click a link, call a number. If you call the number, do you think it's going to go to the right person? No, it's going to go to a scammer that's waiting for you to call. And you can see up here, where did it come from? Order at amazonhelp.art. That is not an Amazon website. And me, as somebody that does email, just like you, if you're somebody that does email, we're all supposed to look at who sent this message. And if it came to me, I'm going to look up at the top and I'm going to see who sent it. And I'm going to say, that's not really Amazon. So even though they've got the logo, even though they're giving me some made up confirmation number, even though they're giving me some addresses, and so you can tell it's got all kinds of stuff to motivate you to try and follow up so that you're curious. But you can stop being curious immediately when you know it's from a fake email address. This is not coming from Amazon. Now, I already told you my tip around this, but here it is again. If you're questioning this, if you think maybe this is real, maybe, don't click any links in the email. Don't call any phone numbers given to you in that message. What you should do is sign into your Amazon account and then see what it says there. Because if you need to do anything at all, your official Amazon account, it's going to tell you. They're not going to send you an email and have you do it that way. You can do it through your account. So never try the email. Always just go straight into amazon.ca, log in with your username and password, and it'll tell you anything it wants you to know about your account and your deliveries and all such things right there. And you won't have to worry about, is this a scam or not? Because you'll know you went there. You were in control of everything. So you made it happen. As I said, companies masquerade. It's not really Canada Post. It just looks like Canada Post. Okay, so Exhibit A is, it looks very professional. It looks like it's got a logo there. They've got this nice gray bar here and a nice gray bar down here. And they even put a copyright 2017, and they got a Canada logo right here. But if you're familiar with technology, then what you would know is we could go and do a Google image search for Canada Post's logo, and then we'd find it in 1 second. And then we could look up the Canada logo and we could find that in an equal short period of time. And if you had any ability to program, like any 14-year-old today that's using a computer, they'd be able to make something that looked very similar to that without a lot of effort, because they just have the digital literacy to do it. And it could cause you to fall for it because it looks pretty good. But if you start paying really close attention, that's what I always want you to use when you're on your technology. You're going to notice, where did it come from? Look at the address at the top of the message. Where did it come from? force@sharepointmonk.org. That is not Canada Post, right? You know that. So we don't have to listen to this email. It's all a phishing scam. They're phishing. They're throwing out a lure and they're trying to reel you in by showing you things that are believable, but you shouldn't believe it just because you saw it. There's some stuff you could notice that would tell you if it's a scam or not. Let's keep reading just so that you can see some of the stuff that I'm noticing. It then says, "Dear client, comma," then there's no space, and then the name Rob. That's very poor grammar. That's incorrect language use. I don't believe that Canada Post would be sending out professional correspondence to their clients that was written so poorly, right? And then as you continue to read, it's got funny ways of saying things in the message. They're using their language wrong because the scammer, they might not even be from anywhere on this side of the planet, right? They could be across the globe and they speak another language and they've just translated into English. And now we're reading a message that's only kind of pieced together in English, but some people will fall for it. So I have to just drill this point home by saying you don't want to click on that link, verify the address to deliver your parcel. No, because when you click that link, it's going to show you something that's still convincing you that it's Canada Post. And then you start typing all of the information in, you volunteered to give it to them. Yeah. So let's not fall for any of these phishing emails. Always throw it away. Always throw it away. Yeah. Because a real company, if they need you to do something, you're going to hear from them, not via email, not via text message. If it was Canada Post, you'll bet you'll get something in the post, right? So let's switch this up. Let's start talking about what can you do as somebody that wants to check in on the email that you use and whether or not it's been part of a scam. So there's this website here, and I'm going to leave this up just for a second so that anybody with a pencil and a paper, if you wanted to write it down, it's have I been PWNED. That word is pwned. It's not a real word. It's something that floats around on the internet, but have I been pwned, PWNED.com. Now, this website was made by an ex-Microsoft employee. He was a higher up guy over at Microsoft, and he saw so many people have their email address and their passwords stolen because of data breaches. So when we sign up for different accounts on the internet, sometimes the companies that provide us those accounts, they get, let's use the word hacked. Okay, so if they do get hacked, then sometimes large amounts of data, which could include your email, your phone number, your password, your address, your first and last name. I don't know what data you give to these different companies that you work with, but if the data gets stolen, then maybe it's available to other people that got it. So if you wanted to find out, was your email included on any popular scams that are known about, because this website's got most of the data breaches in history accounted for, you could check on this website. So how do you use it? You type in your own email address into this box, then you click on the PWNED button. Then it says how many data breaches you've been a part of. My hope for you, friends, is that it's none. But for me, I had an old email address. I've been using it for a number of years. And when I put it in there, it said, you've been in 4 data breaches, and that's it. So then it says, which ones? And as I continue to go down on that page, it tells me exactly the date and the data breach that they wanted me to know about. So I thought that I'd just put this out there for you all so that you could do your own investigation and find out, is your email on any sort of data breach list? And how do you fix it if it is? Log in and change your password. That's the gist of it. All you need to do is log into your accounts and then change your password. And then whatever data it had on you, it no longer at least can get into the account because you've taken access away. You changed the password. So as you can see here, the compromised data in this scenario was my email address and my password. For this one over here, it was email address, password, and username. For this one down here, it was email address, my IP address, my name, and my address. So you can see it all depends on what service was hacked and what data I had given over to that company. Now, just so that you have perspective on who is a victim of the data breaches, it's all of the major companies, all of them. So you can't think about, well, I don't want to use any accounts ever because I don't want to be part of a data breach, because it's every company. All companies now are collecting data. So we just have to be paying attention to the idea that, you know, we have to have strong passwords, and we have to be treating our account security like it's important. Okay, so I'm going to move on from this, and I'm going to talk about a little tool that I use on my computer to store my passwords. I remember one very big password, and then that is the master password, or the last pass that I need to use. And as long as I remember that one, then LastPass will remember all of my other passwords for me. Okay, so let me show you a little bit of a demo of how this works. But this is, again, a website called LastPass. There's a number of different password managers out there. 1Password is another Canadian example that maybe you want to investigate on your own. But this is the one that I use on my computer here at TechCoaches. And as you can see, I have to tell it by simply clicking on this little plus sign that I want to add another web account or internet account that I want to have it remember the password for. So as you can see, it's remembering Amazon and Google and my Facebook and my Zoom and all of these accounts. And if I wanted to add another one, I push the plus sign, and then this is what's going to happen. So now I can tell it what website do I want to log into. So in this example, I just used LinkedIn as another social network that I'm a part of, and I give it my username and I give it my password, and then I click on save, and then it adds it into my lock and key LastPass account that keeps everything protected. Okay, not everybody wants to use a password management tool. What would I use if I wasn't using that? I'd write them all down. I would have my passwords written down. And if you have less than 10 passwords, then there's no need for something like a LastPass or a 1Password. If it's just 10, then write them all down. You could have a little notebook from the dollar store and you hide it somewhere that's not by your computer, right? You don't want to put it under the keyboard. You don't want to put it in the drawer that's right beside the monitor here. You want to keep them separated so that somebody going through your stuff at your desk doesn't just find your book full of secret passwords and now they're able to do whatever they want with that book, right? That's a secret all by itself, the existence of that book. So you're going to want to make sure that you hide that accordingly. Just don't forget where you hid it, yeah? Because it's got all your secrets in it. You're going to need that at some point. But I always write my passwords down because my brain doesn't work forever. And I eventually just forget what was the password I set for that, because everyone is different. So I'm not just using one and then I remember one for 10 things. I have 10 different strong passwords. So I'll just write them all down because I don't expect to remember them. My brain just isn't good enough. It's just not. That sucks, but that's the reality of it. Now, let's talk about digital money a little bit. We already talked about the notion of a digital wallet. I just wanted to say a few words about digital money and online banking, because some people, they think about it perhaps as though it's not safe. And I just wanted to say that it's very safe. It's as safe as any other money. We can do e-transfers, and that's as safe as if I'm going to give you a $20 bill, as long as I know what I'm doing, right? So when I'm at home and I'm on my private internet connection, I can do all the online banking that I want because I'm on a private internet connection. But if I'm at the library, if I'm at McDonald's, if I'm at Tim Hortons and I'm signed up to a public Wi-Fi, that creates an opportunity for some scammer to try and see what people are doing on the internet. And maybe, just maybe, they'll end up seeing what information you're doing or what you're transferring over the internet with regards to your online banking or your e-transfer. So know when to do things and when to not do them. Yeah, private internet connections, personal, anything that you pay for yourself, whether that's the data on your phone or the Wi-Fi at home, that's private stuff. So you should feel comfortable using your digital online banking with that. That said, e-transfers, just a little note about e-transfers, my recommendation would be that you turn on auto deposit, which would mean if somebody sent you money, it automatically goes into your account. If you don't have that set up, then what's going to happen is you're going to need to type in the answer to a security question. And the person that sent you the money is going to need to tell you the answer to the security question, because maybe you know it, maybe you don't know it, right? You'll just need to be typing the perfect correct answer to unlock the money so that it's deposited into your account. So you just need to make sure that you know the answer to that security question, but you can avoid all of that by simply turning on auto deposit, which means whenever somebody sends me an e-transfer, it just immediately accepts it. And then they get a receipt that says, Chris deposited your e-transfer. So auto deposit is definitely something you should consider turning on if you're an online banking user. Let's talk for a second about another kind of scam called typo squatting. Typo squatting. So this is one of the worst ones that I know of. And it fools people by making a very anxious scenario happen right in front of you. And if you don't know how to navigate it, you might act out of haste. Okay, so let me talk a little bit about what typo squatting is. It's a scammer who is guessing how might somebody type a website wrong. It's a typo, right? They're waiting, they're squatting at a website that they guessed people were going to accidentally type. So for instance, if we're using the online banking example, then I think you would agree that it's very easy for you to type CIBC as CBIC. Yeah, you just flip the two middle letters. But if the scammer thought that could happen, then maybe they make a fake website that pops up there whenever somebody types that address incorrectly. It's a typo that causes you to see a fake website. That's essentially what typo squatting is. And the scammer, they were a little bit crafty because they were thinking, how might somebody type a popular website wrong? And then if they can get ahead of that, they can put a fake website there so that when you finally do type it in wrong, you end up seeing exactly what they wanted you to see. So let's talk about what might you see if you have typo squatting happen to you. Here's one example. A website opens and it looks like Microsoft support. It looks like it, and it's giving you no ability to close. You can see up here, I go to the X and I push this X up here, and then windows keep opening and I have to push OK or X, but it's saying virus alert from Microsoft, your computer has been blocked. I talked to people and they said to me that their computer at this time was going whoop, 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 and that audible sound would not stop, and they couldn't make their computer go back under their control. So what does the scammer really want you to do if they've got you looking at something crazy like this? They want you to call this number. And what I can say to you very honestly is that Microsoft support does not want to talk to you over the phone, and they are not putting their phone number on any websites, making it super easy for people to call to complain about the problems that they're having with their computers. So the first thing that I'm noticing here is this isn't a Microsoft website. Look up here, tryshopI30.club. That doesn't say Microsoft.com. So right away, I would have noticed that this is all fake, even though it's got the Microsoft logo, Microsoft support. They got these funny little people down here, and it all kind of looks like a professional was involved in a way. But I know right away, because of that website address, tryshopi30.com, right up there in the address bar. It'll always tell you the address to the website. But if you don't notice, then you might fall for the trick. And you know what ends up happening? You call the number. The person at the other end knows exactly what's happening to you. They end up talking you through a process that makes control seemingly come back to you. And then they convince you to open an email that they sent. And when you do, they run a program on your computer that essentially locks your computer down because you opened up the email and you did the thing in the email, and then that gives them control of your computer. And now they've locked down your computer. And I've seen it go as far as people were told, you have to pay us hundreds of dollars in Bitcoin. We're holding your computer for ransom. It's ransom. Yeah, this is not something that you want to be navigating. So please just know that typo squatting is a thing. Now, are you on a Windows computer? If you're on a Windows computer and you see something like this and you're going up to the top and you're pushing on X's and it's popping up another window saying can't do this, push OK, and you feel like you're stuck, you push Control Alt and Delete on the keyboard at the same time. Control Alt Delete. And then something called Task Manager is going to pop up. You're going to give Task Manager a click, and then you're going to find the program that you're using to look at the internet. So maybe it's Microsoft Edge, maybe it's Google Chrome, maybe it's Firefox. There's a number of web browsers, so you'll have to know which one you're using. And then through Task Manager, you click on the web browser and you click End Task. Yeah, and then it just closes it and nothing happened to you. I just want to be very clear. If you see something like this, or here's the next example that I have for you. If you see something like this, no problem has actually happened yet. You still have the opportunity to do Control Alt Delete, Task Manager, and then close the internet browser that you're looking at the website with, and that will eliminate all of your problem. What you don't want to do is you don't want to call the number and believe that the person's going to now help you fix your computer, because they're just trying to scam you, and you're being put through an elaborate trick. Okay, so please, folks, remember the idea of Control Alt Delete. By the way, if you're on a Mac computer, instead of Control Alt Delete, you can push and hold on the mouse button, click and don't let go on that mouse button on the actual program that you wanted to close, and you'll click on Force Quit, and that'll do the same thing as the Task Manager. But you don't need to call the service desk as the website tries to explain to you. Also, please think about the idea of backing up your information. I realize that we're not going to get into the nitty-gritty of that right now, and maybe you want to put it in the cloud, which means the internet. Yeah, you maybe want to put some of your data somewhere on the internet, like iCloud or Dropbox or OneDrive comes with Windows computers. But there might be time for you to do a backup in the near future, just so that you have the peace of mind knowing that you've got all of your important files backed up. And if nothing else, maybe you want to go and get a USB stick from Walmart or Best Buy and put your files on that, and then you can keep that in a drawer somewhere for safekeeping. Okay. Last thing that I want to talk about is fake CRA telephone calls, because sometimes they happen and people get tricked into thinking that the government is angry at them and they need to pay money right away with gift cards or Bitcoin. Otherwise, the authorities are going to show up and they're going to arrest you. And that is definitely not true. Not true. Now, something that is true is that the CRA may call you. Okay, so we have to be familiar with what would be normal if the CRA was calling and what would be not normal at all. And I should hang up because it would indicate this must be a scam, because they're talking about something that the CRA would not talk about. So let me just show you this list that I have here. I pulled it right off the CRA's website, so you can go off and find this on your own if you wanted to Google it. But look at what they say here. They say via phone, the CRA may ask you to verify your identity by asking your full name, your date of birth, your address, the account, or your social insurance number. You see that? It did say SIN number. So when the CRA calls, it's normal for them to want your SIN number. What's not normal is for them to want your health card, your passport, your driver's license. Any of that stuff, the CRA will not ask for it. Then they would never ask you for payment via Interact e-transfer, Bitcoin, prepaid credit cards or gift cards from the Home Depot or any other kind of retailer gift cards. That is all very false. Very, very false. Okay, so just know that that's the scenario when you get these fake CRA phone calls. Also, the CRA, they may send you an email, and you can see here that the CRA will never give or ask for personal or financial information by email and ask you to click on a link. You see that? I was telling you about don't click those fake links because there's fake CRA phishing emails too. And people think that they're supposed to click the link in that email from the CRA when in reality, right here from their website, they're saying we're not going to ask you to do that and click on a link via email. So please, my friends, take that away with you, share it with anybody that you have access to so that they also know about these scams. That's really what we have to do, is we have to share what we know about scams with other people that may not have heard that before so that they can also be aware of what's possible. So I thank you for sticking it out with us this afternoon. It was very nice to be with you for the last hour. I do hope that I said something of value that you hadn't heard before, and it's been a real pleasure to be working with you all. So thank you, Melissa, OARC team. Thanks so much for the invitation to join in.
Thank you, Chris. That's been an amazing hour, lots of meaty information for our participants. And I'm sure this is going to be something that people continue to reference back on. So thank you, Chris. There was a question that came through anonymously in our question box. And I think it was when you were speaking about when your computer is kind of being taken over or it's frozen.
Yeah, the typo
turn the computer off.
Yep. That's a great question. Yes, the short answer is yes, but what you might have happen afterwards is when you turn the computer back on, it's going to know that it was shut off inappropriately. So what's very likely going to be asked of you is, do you want to open up the programs again that closed because the computer shut down not correctly? The answer would be no. You don't want those programs to open because then it's going to open up that website that was causing you problems again. So you'll just answer no, but yes, that's not the way that you should do it. But if all else fails, then just pull the plug it back in, and then answer no to, do you want to open these programs again? And it'll avoid giving you that error or that typo squatting website again.
Excellent. Thank you.
I
don't see any other questions popping up, and I know we've gone a few minutes over, but could you just remind everyone how our audience members can get a hold of you, Chris, if they have follow-up questions or wanted to enlist your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can always go to the TechCoaches website, techcoaches.ca. And then at the bottom of that website, there's a form that you can fill out. You just put your name in there, the comment that you wanted to make, and a short message, and that goes straight to us. And then we're able to reply to you via email as fast as we possibly can to give you our input on what it is you're wondering.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Also on our website, if I do have just one more moment, Melissa, if you wanted to sign up for our newsletter, every month we give away free Tech Talk webinars to our followers. So you can join one of those in the future. We always advertise them in our newsletter. That's why I bring that up, because it'll keep it sort of in front of you in your inbox one time per month.
Fantastic, Chris. It's been a sincere pleasure having you with us. We look forward to staying in touch. And thank you to all of our participants for tuning in live today. Have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Enjoy your day.